Looking back on the 15 years, I think there was a vision that we could potentially have significant impact. But it's easy to forget that 15 years ago, it really was an uncharted kind of journey.
Bain Company was a deeply focused commercial enterprise. When I became managing partner, I started to evolve that notion that in fact Bain Company had a role to play in the world, that we ought to be providing value added to society beyond our client base, and that would be good for business, not just for our reputation, but for attracting and motivating and developing talent. A question surfaced, and it surfaced in my heart. How can a new entity incubated at Bain Company dramatically increase its impact on the world? Which led into a conversation with Jeff, who was at Harvard Business School, and together we began to wrestle with this question. And the answer to that question was ultimately Bridgespan.
Throughout the journey, Bain has been an incredible partner. And one of the things that always stuck with me is that the measure of success wasn't, is it brilliant, is it smart, is it interesting? It was like, do results improve? And that was really the animating vision from the beginning of Bridgespan, was a similar chart, but it was social impact, not financial returns. But the ethos of impact is what counts is one of the core attributes and one of the core values that I think we've brought from Bain Company. The last 15 years have really been both for Bridgespan, but also for the whole social sector, a giant jump in a direction towards a greater focus on impact, a greater focus on scale. A lot of the ideas we've been part of and contributed to with many, many other leaders from across the sector and frankly now around the world, focused on scaling what works, on helping philanthropy be as high impact as possible. So the story of Bridgespan is really a story about the opportunities we've gotten to work with extraordinary leaders and organizations across the social sector, first in the United States and now increasingly around the world. We are not on the front lines of social change. We are working with leaders out in the world that are on the front lines. And so our ability to collaborate with them, to engage with them in ways that enable them to strengthen their work is the only measure of success.
People periodically ask, why do you do this? And you gotta be kidding me. Every day, we get to work with outstanding people whose driving motivation is to serve others, to make the world a better place. I mean, how can you not love that?
Bridge metaphor continues to be a really powerful way of thinking about the work of Bridgespan.
Initially, it really was the business sector and the social sector. And so now, if we talk about it, there really are these three bridges. Business and the social sector, or business and society, sources of capital, philanthropists, uses of capital, nonprofits, communities, and theory, practice. Our knowledge is meant to influence all kinds of people, all kinds of constituents, without any direct benefit to us.
And our whole knowledge strategy was animated by the fact that we didn't believe we were coming with all the answers.
From day one at Bridgespan, a part of our theory of change was that we would consult and learn over here, and that would be a generator of practical ideas, of pragmatic insights that could be applied through a knowledge strategy over here. And that juxtaposition of being on the front lines and learning and generating ideas that then others can learn from is kind of an impact multiplier.
The question of impact is one that we ask ourselves in a very intentional way constantly. It's the theme that runs through every partner meeting, every board meeting, every management team meeting, in the form of, is this really the most powerful thing we can do? Are we really having impact? And if not, let's stop doing this. Impact was always the animating vision. Number two on the list from the beginning was humility, was a deep belief that we might have something to offer, but we were certain we had a lot to learn from our clients, from kind of the folks that we were working with. And a third very big one has been collaboration, because the relationships we have with clients, that is the vehicle through which Bridgespan has impact. We also wanted to build a place where passion, the passion of people, the beliefs of people in some sense, could be the fuel that drives things forward. So we have a lot of passionate people that care about making a giant difference in the world, that are passionate about the issues that we're working on, and bring a rigor and a disciplined thinking to that. And it's that combination that I think really does distinguish Bridgespan in many ways.
Looking back, could we have imagined Bridgespan today from where we were 15 years ago? No. But we can imagine and be certain about the anchoring and impact, extraordinary focus on excellence, and a set of core values that drive everything we do.